What's going on, guys? MariK here, back with another Dragon Ball Super Deck profile. As you guys know, Android's been one of our favorite archetypes since the close to the beginning of the game, with the start of Union Force, and with the last set, we got a plethora of new Android support. We got a lot more Android 18 support, as well as Android 16, who just didn't really have much of anything in the game at all, so I definitely wanted to get my hands on those and figure out a fun build utilizing those two characters. So I think this is a pretty solid build that we've got here so far, but let's go ahead and get right into it. So for the leader, we had to go with the Android 18 leader, and I'm going to go ahead and say, just right off from the beginning, that I know we're going to catch a lot of heat for this, but we're not actually using Android 18 the way the leader is meant to be played. We're not playing the Android 21 scheme just because I want to be able to do things on my own terms, and I can't do that when the field card doesn't let me. So we're also not getting to use her activate main ability, which is fine because this deck does not focus on playing the token cards. For the most part, the leader is just for the leader's color and for us being able to play the deck as theme-based as possible. So the first card in the deck is going to be Android 18, Speedy Substitution. She's going to be your searcher. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add a blue or green Android among them to your hand, and then you're going to shuffle the rest of it back in. Her secondary ability, we really don't use a whole lot. You get to, at the end of the turn, you can choose a multicolor blue-green energy, add it to your hand, and then play a card from your hand in your energy and rest mode. We don't really need that ability, and you'll kind of understand why as we get to some of the other cards in the deck. But this is going to be your turn 1 play 9 times out of 10. It's a great searcher. It's going to add cards to your hand. And since the deck is built on blue-green androids, there should never be a time where you miss with this ability. Next, we've got Android 17, Protector of Wildlife. This is going to be one of the most important cards in the deck, and with your Speedy Substitution, this will be one of the cards that you want to search out with it. It is going to be your main blue-green energy that you're going to want to play because of that permanent that negates the energy exhaust ability. You're never going to play this card outright, so its once per turn is pretty irrelevant to the deck. And this is going to be the only android in the deck that is not 16 or 18, but you just can't play the deck without having a multicolored blue-green energy. Because without it, you can't take full advantage of the main core of the deck, starting with a new start, Android 16. His activate main says, choose one blue-green multicolored card in your energy, place it in the drop area, play this card from your hand. So turn 1, you have 2 options. You can play a blue card, charge a blue card, play the Speedy Substitution, get your search on, or charge that multicolor energy. Even though it's going to go to rest mode, it doesn't matter because you're going to get rid of it with Android 16's ability, which lets him come out into play. He also has Revive, so once per turn, he can come back to the field if you place blue and green or a blue-green multicolor card from your hand into your drop area. So he's pretty versatile there. And as odd as it sounds, he's going to be the main focus of the deck, and again, that sounds really strange, but when you combine it with Android 16 Mechanical Prowess, you get to start building up your field relatively quickly, and having a 15k beater turn 1 and a 10k blocker is not really that bad when you think about it. Now, you're not going to have any energy if you play this on turn 1, mind you, but that's also part of the strategy of this deck, and we'll get to that point in a minute. And having the unique ability to be able to play multiple battle cards for free in one turn is really what got me interested in building this deck in the first place. And not to mention, Android 16 is just a cool character. And being down on energy may seem like a bad thing at first, but when you combine it with Forced Ejection Mass Saiyan, then you start to play a game where you're literally controlling what your opponent is allowed to play. So when the Mass Saiyan comes out, you're going to overwhelm him for 1 energy, and if your opponent has more energy than you do, and you place energy in your energy area during the turn, you get to choose one of their energy and warp it. So this begins a game where you start to control your opponent's energy, and basically that prevents them from making bigger plays. Also gives you another 15k beater for the turn. Now, you can't do this in the same turn that you play the Android 16 combo, but you follow up, your opponent charges, you come back to your turn, you charge. If you happen to have less than your opponent, you can now play that Force Ejection, rip away one of their energy, and then you start this game of, you can keep playing the Android 16s, to keep sending your energy away to play more androids, which then leaves you with less energy the next time you charge, and forced ejection can continue to rip away their energy. And you play this game where your opponent is down on energy and not able to play their higher cost cards. Meanwhile, you're building an army of androids that are just, look at them, literally ready to punch your opponent in the face.
Used one of my hard punches.
Then, if you find yourself needing more energy, you can always ramp up with Android 16 Energy Amplification. If you have a blue-green multicolor in your energy, when you play him, you put the top card of your deck in your energy in rest mode. You can't play battle cards 30,000 to 35,000 power. Obviously, that's not going to happen with this deck anyway, so we're not really worried about that. The ratio for this card, I went back and forth on. Initially, I had 4 in the deck. But then I was like, well, the deck doesn't really care about having that much energy, since most of the stuff in the deck you can play for free anyway, so only a couple energy is needed. And kind of the strategy of playing your Android 16s for free, and then also, you know, kind of keeping your opponent's energy down. It wasn't really necessary, but he's in there as an option in case you wanted to try and get a little back ahead of the game. We went with 3, because 3 kind of seemed like a balanced number. 4 was too much, because it wasn't a card that's absolutely needed for the deck, but at the same time, 2 felt like too little to actually draw into it, so I felt like 3 was a perfectly balanced number there. Then we've got Android 16, Imperfect Assassin. We've got plenty of evolved targets for him. The 15k attacker doesn't do anything else once he's played, so you can evolve this card onto that card. You could evolve it onto the 10k blocker, but, I mean, it's kind of nice to have that free blocker. This card is also a blocker, and when he evolves, you get to draw 2 cards, and your opponent has to discard a card. So, ideally, you would want to evolve this card on top of Energy Amplification, because he is doing absolutely nothing, and he's only 5,000 power. So, at least with the new start, he's still a 15k beater, and then when you combine it with this card, you'd have a 20k beater, and you'd have multiple blockers, and there's several ways to keep the blockers alive between your super combos and other cards in the deck. Then we've got Android 18, Full of Rage. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. She's a 4, costs 20,000, but you can play her for 1 blue with Arrival. Now, when she comes into play, you can't play her for the duration of the turn, but she's an activate battle ability. It says, return this card to its owner's hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, 4 or less, and return it to its owner's hand. So, you can play her for 1 energy on either player's turn, 20k beater, and for no energy cost, you can stop an opponent's attack, bounce the card back to their hand. She goes back to your hand as well, and then you can Arrival her again, either that turn or the next turn, and you can just keep recycling her ability as long as you have blue-green cards to be able to use the Arrival ability. I think this is a really solid card for the deck. It gives you a lot of control over your opponent's stuff, even if they happen to be able to play a card a little higher than, 2 or 3 energy. If you let them get that much energy, then she can also send that stuff right back to their hand, and to be able to do that for no energy, to pay 1 energy for a 20,000 battle card that can then, in turn, bounce a card from your opponent's board to their hand during battle, and then allow you to play it again, is a really solid card in my personal opinion. And with this deck, not only does it fit the theme, but it just flows really well with the way the deck kind of tries to control what's happening on the board. Then we've got our super combo, Android 18, Bionic Blitz. I'm glad they came out with this card because I was upset that we couldn't use the Android 16 super combo with this deck, since it's, kind of focused and themed around Android 16, and we're going to be stuck using the Gohan Great Saiyaman super combo from, set 5. But now we've got this one, which fits the theme perfectly. She's searchable off the 1 cost. Now, the -1 card from your opponent's hand, really not that big a deal. I mean, in a way it kind of is, because your opponent is already going to be down on energy. They're going to be down on options as to what they can play, so making them discard a card, they're probably going to end up discarding a card they couldn't play anyway, so it's not really going to be that detrimental, but I guess it's either combo fodder or whatever. Ideally, you'd probably be better off using the Zamasu super combo for the ability to switch something to rest mode. If you're trying to be that competitive about it, that's what I would do, and honestly, that's probably what's better for this deck, but to stick with the theme of it, and I just love Android 18, so I wanted to use this super combo with the deck. Then we've got one of the best support cards for androids to date. It's Flash Bomber. You choose one of your androids, give it plus 10,000 and critical for the duration of the battle for 1 energy. That is really, really substantial. Critical has always been a powerful ability, and preventing your opponent from getting extra cards works really well. And this card doesn't specify the android's color, so it works with every android in the deck. Super solid card. I can't see not running it at 4. And then we've also got Android 20 Vial Creator. When you combo with it, you choose one of your green android cards and gets plus 5,000 and double strike for the duration of the turn. So it already has 5,000 combo power. So you're going to combo it, give it 10,000 and double strike. Combine that with Flash Bomber, and that's a lot of damage coming at your opponent. Now, luckily, the 3 main battle cards you would probably attack with in the deck anyways are all blue-green. So you can still use Vial Creator with them. So if you need to press for extra damage, you don't want your opponent to get any card advantage, then you've got Flash Bomber for crit damage. If you need to push damage, you're going in for the kill, you've got Vial Creator to give that double strike. And since most of your cards you're not playing for much energy anyways, you can combine the two for a massive power boost to one of your cards. Then, speaking of power boost to your cards, we of course have 4 Senzu Beans. It's going to give you extra energy so you can play other cards, and it'll also give you permanent 5,000 boost for the turn to your blockers, so it'll give you the option to survive a few attacks a little bit easier. If you're running a blue deck or you're running a multicolor deck that has blue in it, there's no reason not to have 4 Senzu Beans in it. And then lastly, for our counter, we have Dimension Magic. Now, I know you're not always going to be able to use its sparking ability to play it for no energy, because we are running the Forced Ejection in the deck, but you should usually have at least 1 energy open, so you'd still be able to counterattack with it no problem. I debated on putting in a counter play card instead of a counterattack card, but I wasn't quite sure how many times you were going to have 2 energy open on your opponent's turn to be able to play this card. Other options in place of Dimension Magic 2, you could play the Ultra Instinct Kamehameha. That would give one of your battle cards plus 15,000 power, and you'd get a draw on it. Or if you were using it in defense on one of your blockers, you get a free energy back to replace energy you used to play it. You could also play like Shu, Deluge of Power. It'd give you that plus 10k boost to your blockers, because both your blockers are blue, help you keep them alive a little longer. Or you could even play Destined Krillin, which is a free blocker since your leader is Android 18. So you've got plenty of options. I don't think that's really necessary since you do have the Android 16 blockers, which are just they're just stronger, which are just stronger cards in general, and they're also free to play when you use the Android 16 A New Start to play him by putting energy in your drop. So didn't really seem necessary. There are other options out there as well, but this is kind of just what I felt like would be the best to go with. And that's going to go ahead and wrap up this deck profile. I expect to gain a little bit of heat on the leader, since we are doing nothing with the leader whatsoever aside from just keeping it thematic. There are probably better leaders to use with this deck, obviously, but that's just kind of what I wanted to go with, so that's what we did. But if you guys enjoyed this video, if you like the theme of the deck, let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button. I really like the blue-green Android 16 package. Being able to just play both of them for free is really cool. Combining them with a card like Forced Ejection, or even you could even combine it with the 2-drop Piccolo, who's a blue card from the World Martial Arts Tournament theme booster, who basically does the same thing. You would just play him for 2 energy instead of 1, like the Master MariK. So you've got options with the deck, but overall the main strategy of the deck remains the same: keeping your opponent at low energy, playing stuff for free, and then overly just controlling the flow of the game while you slowly beat their ass. With that though, we're going to go ahead and get the freak out of here, and we'll see you guys in the next video.